Noah Bell slept through the announcement that made him valuable. That felt unfair. Elias stood in the maternity ward with smoke in his hair, blood under one sleeve, and a system message glowing above an 11-hour-old infant like a crown nobody had asked for.
Blessing Dawnheart. Effect: safe zone integrity increases while participant remains alive and within refuge. World event notice. Blessed participants will be revealed to nearby hostile entities at next sunset.
The young mother holding Noah looked from the text to Elias.
What does that mean?
Her name was June Bell. She had given birth during the first hour of the apocalypse, which placed her high on Elias' private list of people allowed to be unreasonable forever. No one answered quickly enough. Mara stepped closer and lowered her voice.
It means your son helps keep safe places safe.
June's fingers tightened around the blanket.
And the other part?
Kay crouched beside her.
It means we move him somewhere we can defend.
The room shifted around that sentence. 12 survivors, 1 newborn, 1 exhausted father reunited with his daughter, 1 medical team carrying half a pharmacy, 1 corridor outside decorated with the numbers of a dead monster that had counted people toward erasure. Owen Price held Laura like he was afraid the world would charge him interest if he let go.
Chapel Ward, you came from a safe zone. Yes. Can it hold?
Elias almost said yes. Field Raid stopped him.
Chapel Ward, crowded strained supplies, moderate defenses, Warden anchor, blessed synergy potential, hostile attraction imminent.
It can hold better with Noah there, but sunset becomes a siege.
June looked down at her sleeping baby.
Because of him. Because of the trials.
June blinked. Kay softened.
Not because of him.
The correction landed harder than comfort. Several people in the ward looked away as if they had been caught thinking the wrong thing. Elias did not blame them. Fear wanted a shape. Give it a newborn and it would become ugly very quickly. The radio crackled.
Medical team report.
Mara keyed the radio.
Maternity secured, Tallyman destroyed, survivors alive, 1 blessed infant confirmed.
The silence after that was worse than static. Then Helena said,
Bring them back. We have wounded. Bring them back. The path has a sterile patch and a destroyed corridor. Then find another path.
Elias took the radio.
We need a controlled movement. Noah cannot be jostled through a hazard route.
Agreed, use the maternity service hall. Laura should know it.
Laura lifted her head.
It connects to the nursery storage corridor, locked from this side.
Good, we move in 2 groups. Fast walkers first with supplies, June and Noah in the middle, wounded and rear guard last.
Mara stared at him.
You are giving orders again.
Yes.
She looked like she wanted to object, then looked at Noah and did not. Progress sometimes wore a bad mood. The ward resisted movement. Not physically, the doors were open now, the barricade could be dismantled, the tallyman was gone. But rooms could become cages if people had survived long enough inside them. A security guard with a broken arm refused to leave the wall he had been sitting against.
The ceiling counted for 3 hours. 3 hours. Every time someone screamed, it scratched another number. You want me to walk under another ceiling?
Laura knelt beside him.
Ben, if we stay here, something else comes.
You do not know that.
Above Noah, the blue-white notice pulsed gently.
Blessed participants will be revealed to nearby hostile entities at next sunset.
Ben saw it, everyone saw it. He laughed once without humor.
Right, of course you know that.
Mara checked his splint with a tenderness that looked angry from a distance.
Can you walk?
If I say no.
Then Owen carries you and complains the whole way.
Owen looked up.
I will.
Ben stared at him. Owen stared back with the haunted calm of a man who had just been given his daughter back and had no patience left for negotiation. Ben stood. That solved one problem. It revealed 4 more. 2 maternity patients could walk only with help. 1 nurse had a concussion. A visitor named Mrs. Holloway refused to leave without a canvas bag filled with photographs, formula coupons, 3 phone chargers, and what Elias suspected was a decorative ceramic duck. Kay opened the bag, removed the duck, and set it on a counter. Mrs. Holloway made a wounded noise.
It was my sister's. Your sister would want you to live. You do not know my sister. Then your sister was terrible and the duck stays.
Elias decided not to interfere. Kay was doing medicine, logistics, and spiritual warfare all at once. Laura organized the maternity survivors with the efficiency of someone who had been terrified for long enough to become useful. She moved blankets, assigned hands, checked who could carry weight, and tied strips of blue surgical cloth around wrists so Chapel Ward could identify the group at a glance. June watched all of it with Noah pressed to her chest. She did not ask to be put in the safest place. That worried Elias. People who asked for protection could be managed. People who went quiet around their fear had usually started making private plans. He crouched near her chair, leaving enough space that she could tell him to leave.
June.
She looked at him.
No one is taking him from you.
Her face did not change. Too fast then. He tried again.
The system made him important. That does not make him public property.
Her breath hitched. There it was.
People will say he belongs where he helps the most.
People will say many things after nearly dying.
And when sunset comes,
Elias looked at Noah. The infant made a tiny sleeping sound, offended by nothing except perhaps the general quality of the apocalypse.
When sunset comes, we defend the room he is in, with you in it.
June searched his face as if looking for the part of the promise that would become a lie.
you can promise that.
No. He could not. He was a dispatcher with a bad skill, and a growing habit of talking like command structure had adopted him. But there were promises that described the future, and promises that described what kind of person you intended to be while failing.
I can promise I will argue it loudly.
June gave a small, exhausted laugh. It was not hope, but it was adjacent. The move began in 5 minutes. Elias loaded a stored action before they left, a hard kick into a rolling bassinet. He placed the bassinet near the ward entrance, angled toward the hallway.
Stored action, launch bassinet decoy down hall.
Kay read the label over his shoulder.
Decoy.
If something follows,
Please do not weaponize baby furniture while a baby watches.
he is asleep.
That is not the moral issue.
The first group moved out with supplies and the 2 fastest nurses. Mara took point because her hands could become fire faster than anyone else could become brave. Laura led from beside her, pointing out turns in the service corridor with a shaking hand that grew steadier every time she used it. Elias stayed in the middle near June and Noah. He did not like the middle. The middle meant responsibility in all directions. Behind him, Owen helped Ben walk. Kay moved between the wounded like a needle stitching people into a line. The remaining survivors followed with the particular silence of people who had learned that panic made monsters curious. They entered the maternity service hall. The corridor smelled of powder, disinfectant, and sour fear. Wall shelves held diaper packs, folded linens, and plastic bins labeled in cheerful fonts that now felt like messages from a dead civilization. Twice they heard movement in the ceiling. Twice everyone stopped, counted breaths, and waited for the sound to pass. The third time the sound stopped with them. Elias raised one hand. The line froze. Field red opened around the ceiling tiles.
Pattern lightweight, parallel movement, curiosity response. Threat estimate low to moderate, pack behavior possible.
Mara looked back. Elias pointed 2 fingers upward, then toward the rear. Mara's mouth tightened. Kay noticed. So did Owen. The ceiling tile above the rear of the line bowed down. Not much. Enough. Something pale pressed against it from above. Elias did not have a weapon in his hand. That was fine. His weapon was 10 seconds ago. He released the stored bassinet action. Far back in Maternity, the empty bassinet shot down the hall with a metallic rattle so loud it sounded personally offended. The thing above them went still. Then another ceiling tile shifted. Away from them. The sound crawled backward, following the rattling decoy into the ward they had abandoned. Owen stared at Elias.
That was disturbing.
Useful disturbing.
Still morally questionable.
I accept the note.
They moved faster. At the first junction, a shambler stumbled from an exam room. It had once been a visitor. The hospital badge stuck to its chest said guest in cheerful green letters. Its jaw hung slack. Its eyes tracked the group, then snagged on the glow above Noah. June made a sound small enough to be swallowed. The shambler lunged. Mara stepped forward. Fire flashed, low and controlled, crossing the shambler's legs rather than its head. It collapsed into a cabinet with a crash that made every survivor flinch.
Do not kill it.
Mara had already stopped. The shambler dragged itself with its arms, still staring at Noah.
Hostile fixation detected. Blessed visibility, partial resonance.
Partial, I hate partials.
Move.
Ben raised his good hand.
It can see the baby.
Move now.
This time, the line obeyed before fear could become debate. Mara kicked the shambler's reaching arm away, not hard enough to shatter bone, hard enough to buy seconds. They passed the junction. Laura slammed the supply room door behind them and shoved a cart in front of it. The shambler hit the other side once. Twice. Then the ceiling moved again. The third hit never came. No one asked what had taken it. The service hall ended at a locked fire door painted staff only. Laura swiped her badge. The reader flashed red. She stared at it.
No.
She swiped again. Red. Mara stepped up, fire gathering around her fingers. Laura grabbed her wrist.
If you burn it, the alarm locks the nursery corridor. The alarm system still works. Only when it can make things worse.
Elias looked at the door. Metal frame, magnetic lock, badge reader, hinges on their side, emergency release box behind cracked plastic. He reached for the box. Laura caught his hand.
That triggers the alarm too.
Of course it does.
Behind them, something scraped inside the ceiling. Not near. Not far enough. Field raid offered no clean answer. Store action was empty. Delay was available. The door needed to open without the system noticing an emergency release or a forced burn. Elias looked at Owen.
Can you lift the bottom edge?
Owen glanced at the door.
It is a fire door.
So no.
So not alone.
Ben, broken arm and all, stepped forward.
I have one good shoulder.
Mrs. Holloway said.
I moved pianos before I retired.
Kay stared at her.
What? Nothing, you may keep one phone charger.
They lifted together. Not the whole door, not enough to open it. Enough to change how the latch sat inside the frame. Elias took the broken metal rod Laura handed him and pressed it against the latch plate. He made a hard shove. Nothing happened. He stored it.
Stored action, shove latch plate, fire door.
Now lower it.
They lowered. The latch settled wrong by a fraction. Elias released. The stored shove arrived inside the changed angle. The latch snapped back. The door opened 1 inch. No alarm. For half a second, no one breathed. Then Mrs. Holloway whispered,
I absolutely moved pianos.
Noted.
They slipped through. The nursery storage corridor was narrower, warmer, and mercifully empty. At the far end, a stairwell sign pointed down toward chapel ward's level. The radio crackled.
Medical team report.
Mara answered while walking.
Service hall clear enough. 1 Shambler with fixation response. Passable blessed resonance before sunset.
Static. Then Helena said, very quietly.
Understood.
Elias did not like how much meaning she put into one word. The group reached level 6 22 minutes later with no deaths, which felt statistically rude to the universe. Chapel ward opened to receive them. It did not look like safety. It looked like too many people in too little sacred space. Beds had been dragged between pews, IV poles stood beside candle racks, snack boxes were stacked under the pulpit. Someone had hung white sheets along one wall to make a treatment area, and the sheets were already shadowed with silhouettes of pain. But the golden boundary still glowed in the floor. The warden's mark still burned above the chapel doors. And when June Bell carried Noah across the threshold, the safe zone changed. The air warmed. The golden boundary lines brightened. Every candle in the chapel steadied at once.
Dawnheart entered refuge. Safe zone integrity increased. Chapel ward refuge upgraded, grade E to grade E.
A cheer rose. It started in one corner, small and disbelieving, then spread because people were starving for a reason to make noise that was not screaming. For 3 seconds, Chapel ward sounded like a place that might live. Then the next message appeared.
Notice blessed presence detected. Hostile convergence begins at next sunset.
The cheer died unevenly. June held Noah against her chest and did not cry. That was the bravest thing Elias had seen all day. Helena pushed through the crowd. She looked at the baby first, then at June, then at Elias, Mara, Kay, Owen, Laura, Ben, and the line of survivors behind them.
Injured to triage, supplies to the left vestry. Anyone who can stand without help goes to orientation.
No welcome speech. No sermon. Just the kind of order people could lean on. June looked at Helena with the brittle suspicion of a mother surrounded by strangers. Helena lowered herself to one knee in front of her. Not far enough to touch Noah. Close enough to make herself smaller.
I am Helena Ward. This refuge is under my protection. You and your son are not resources, you are residents.
The chapel heard her. That was the point. June swallowed.
People will be afraid of him. People are already afraid of everything. We will give them rules before fear writes its own.
Elias liked that. He wished he had written it down. The system did it for him.
Refuge policy available. Blessed resident protection. Adopt policy.
Helena looked up at the text, then at Elias.
What does Field Read say?
He opened it.
Policy blessed resident protection. Effect prevents forced relocation, sacrifice, expulsion, or non-consensual use of blessed participants within refuge. Cost refuge leadership responsibility increased, descent risk increased among frightened participants. Potential synergy, Dawnheart stability plus warden authority.
Elias read the important parts aloud. The chapel went very quiet.
What if keeping him gets us killed?
June flinched. Helena stood.
Then removing him would make us cowards before it made us safe.
The person did not answer. Helena lifted one hand toward the prompt.
Adopt.
Policy adopted. Blessed resident protection active. Dawnheart synergy stabilized.
The golden lines in the floor pulsed once. Noah slept through that too. Elias envied him. Then the system opened another window.
Sunset forecast, 9 hours 41 minutes. Convergence intensity rising. Recommended preparation. Assign defensive roles, reinforce boundary, reduce internal descent, locate secondary exits.
Mara laughed once. It was not a happy sound.
Reduce internal descent. Wonderful. The system discovered meetings.
Kay looked at Elias.
You should sit down.
I am standing strategically.
You are bleeding strategically.
He looked at his slave. She was right. How rude. Owen guided Laura toward the triage sheets. Laura kept looking back at Noah, not with blame, but with the expression of someone who had spent all night guarding a door without knowing what the door meant. June finally sat in the front pew. Helena placed 2 volunteers near her. Not guards. Not obviously. Elias noticed anyway. So did June. He expected her to object. Instead, she adjusted Noah's blanket and said,
They face outward.
Helena nodded.
They face outward.
That was how the rule began. Not with faith. With geometry. Face the danger, not the child. Elias sat because Kay made him, and because the floor had begun making persuasive arguments. As she cleaned the blood from his arm, the chapel rearranged itself around Noah Bell. Supplies moved, beds shifted, people whispered. Helena issued orders. Mara argued with 2 volunteers about fire lanes. Owen refused to let Laura out of his sight until Laura threatened to assign him to diaper inventory. Life, in other words, behaved rudely in the presence of doom. The radio on Mara's belt crackled. Not with Helena's channel. With static. Then a voice Elias did not know whispered through.
Blessed.
Every conversation near them stopped. The radio hissed.
Dawnheart.
Mara ripped it from her belt and stared at it. The channel indicator spun through numbers by itself. Static became breathing. Then from somewhere too far away and too close at once.
Sunset.
The radio went dead. Noah opened his eyes. Just for a second. They were ordinary newborn eyes. Dark. Unfocused. Alive. Above the chapel doors, the golden warden mark flickered. Elias looked toward the stained glass where daylight still held. 9 hours and 41 minutes. The hospital had counted down to Noah. Now everything else had started counting down to sunset.